can safely say tonight, Iowa made this Republican primary a two-person race.
You helped us get a ticket punched out of the Hawkeye state. We have a lot of work to do, but I can tell you this, as the next president of the United States, I am going to get the job done for this country, and I guarantee you this, I will not let you down.
Those comments made by Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis in the immediate aftermath of learning that they had not won the Iowa caucus make perfect sense, assuming that those comments had been scripted for the idea that they would win. Sure, Nikki Haley, if you had beaten Ron DeSantis for second place by a significant amount, then you would be able to say it's a two-person race. That didn't happen, but that's the message your campaign wanted, so you just said it anyway. And Ron DeSantis says, I will not disappoint you, when he just got done disappointing them. Him narrowly beating Nikki Haley and being lapped by Donald Trump is a major disappointment. If it's not, the only reason it's not is that the expectations have been so lowered for Ron DeSantis that nobody really expected him to do better than that. And in either case, neither of those cases are good for Ron DeSantis. And so Ron DeSantis needs to make the case for why he stays in. We know that if you take a look at New Hampshire, the polling there, he is going to be utterly destroyed. Haley maybe could beat Trump. It's also possible the polling will change quite a bit coming out of Iowa. Who knows? But Ron DeSantis is not going to be doing well in New Hampshire. And Ron DeSantis appears to know that because he's not even going to New Hampshire immediately. He's instead going to, I guess, his last stand, which is in South Carolina, where he's also trailing Nikki Haley. And it's, by the way, her home state. And so he is looking at this point like he's gonna stick around for a little bit without a path to relevance once again. The only path he appears to have is kind of dooming Nikki Haley's chances of catching up to Donald Trump. So Brett, I wanna turn to you. Where do they each go from here? They're sticking to what their strategy was gonna be if Iowa had worked better, but what do you think?
So Ron DeSantis did not live up to his own expectations. He promised he was going to win the Iowa caucus. He did not. He fell below expectation. Also, Haley's is an ascendant campaign, and Ron DeSantis is in decline. Haley, all DeSantis can hope for is Haley not meeting these, is people believing a certain level of expectation that's unreasonable, and Haley not living up to that unreasonable expectation. And that's going to happen in New Hampshire and South Carolina. It's easy to convince people that if the former governor doesn't win her own state, she should go pack it up. Like Kasich beat Trump in Ohio, his home state. So that kind of thing can and will happen theoretically. But there is no one switching over to DeSantis. DeSantis spent so much money in Iowa, it's obscene. He spent an unprecedented amount of money doing like door knocking in Iowa, and it failed. He has hit his capacity. Nikki Haley has more, is going to New Hampshire. You could say that it's a bunch of independents on 11% of Republicans say that they'd vote for Biden if Trump was the nominee in general. But if you ask Nikki Haley supporters, according to a Des Moines Register Iowa poll, if Trump's the nominee, who are you going to vote for? 43% of Nikki Haley supporters said they'd vote for Biden over Trump. So no one's defecting from Trump and going to DeSantis. People are showing up, and the people that leave Chris Christie are gonna go to Nikki Haley. She's the opposition at this point. And it really is resonating among people who need somewhere else to go besides Trump. And they sure as hell ain't going to DeSantis because he just don't got it.
Yeah, there's no indication of that. And I agree. Look, based on what you said, and I think you're right about the lack of defections, that implies that regardless of what they do, this is really a matter of like when, not if Donald Trump wins. But in terms of if there is any chance whatsoever, DeSantis has to get out. And look, the way that I'm framing that is the overall goal is Trump doesn't win. That's not necessarily DeSantis's goal, but I think that it should be. I
not
do
at all
think.
His goal.
No, it's not his goal. His goal obviously is for him to win. But I want to offer a little bit of advice to Ron DeSantis. He is not going to listen to me, and I don't want him to take my advice because I want him to be utterly humiliated on a daily basis for the next 6 months, and then I want him to slink off below some rock in the Everglades, never to be seen again. But if I was to offer him advice, and if he was, this is me trying in good faith, you've got to get out of this thing right now, Ron DeSantis. Every day you stay in longer, your chance of winning does not improve. That is not gonna happen. You need to accept it. You're never gonna win, okay? You're never gonna win a state. But the longer you wait, the more you anger Donald Trump, the more you anger the MAGA base. You need to be looking to 4 years in the future now. And I don't think that that's gonna work out for you either, but that's the only chance that you have. And the longer you stay in now, the more you anger the MAGA base and poison them against ever voting for you in the future. And the more you continually remind the donors that you're gonna be going to in 4 years that you're not the guy. The more debates that you're gonna be participating in and reminding voters that you don't have the charisma or just the natural humanness to win this thing. The longer you stay on the campaign trail, the more you remind people that you should not be there. So you need to get out of there right now. And then maybe in 4 years, you'll have a chance. Do you disagree, Brett?
Most of DeSantis's money is from donors who have maxed out. And it really does come down to money. So I think he's gonna spend what he's got left. He's not inspiring any new donations out of Iowa. That's what he was relying on. And without that inspired donation cash flow, he's just gonna spend every dollar he can after this, and it's gonna disappear. Donald Trump is, as of October, like the vast majority, I'm talking 30-1, is donations he's gotten so far from untapped voters.
Yeah.
That means people that haven't hit the max. So
Brett, let me ask
Nikki
you-
Haley's more evenly distributed, but there's more headroom for those two. Nikki Haley.
That is an important consideration. I'm glad that you brought that up. But I want to ask you, we talked about, obviously his goal is to win. Let's say that we could convince him that is just not gonna happen, dude. It's not gonna happen. Should his goal be have Trump lose at whatever cost? Which is better from the point of view of Ron DeSantis of the future? That Donald Trump lose to Nikki Haley and not be the candidate, or that Donald Trump is the candidate and either wins or loses to Biden?
Just everybody who's not Donald Trump needs Donald Trump to get out of politics. And the only way to ensure he does that, assuming America sticks together afterwards, is for him to get his 8 years as president done. So he wants Trump
Assuming
to
that would
win
be it.
and get reelected, get his second 4 and then be disqualified from ever being president again, and then just disappear and go on speaking tours.
Yeah. Assuming he only gets 8.
Yeah, that's
He
horrifying.
keeps joking,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah, it's horrifying, and I don't necessarily believe it, but that is what he is saying openly on the campaign trail, and isn't that fun? Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.